SMSU means business. Last year, the Bears finished one step away from their goal of a conference championship in their first season of Valley membership. This year, Charlie's new group is poised to capture that title and battle on into March Madness. Be a part of the thrill.
With two groups today. We'll do some in three, but some will be two groups. But once you're in the lane, go up high. Don't broad jump, high jump. Go knuckles to the board.
In the fall of 1991, the Bears were coming off their maiden voyage in the tradition-rich Missouri Valley Conference, and for the most part, it had been smooth sailing. SMS had led the league race from wire to wire until a loss on the final day caused them to settle for second place. They'd competed well in a senior-dominated league, but like most of the other 1991 contenders, faced a rebuilding season in 91-92.
Right on a kick, go ahead. Go high, go high. Okay, so, hit the deep man. Get there in one bounce. Get there in one bounce. Out of the way. You're in the road. You got a back door right there. Too slow, Axe. Going again. Person got the ball. I come by. I don't have it. He gets it. I got to go in the block. Why? He's got a shot. I'm rebounding.
A dozen new faces and only 4 returning players brought the biggest turnover and challenge for Coach Charlie Spoonout.
Got the ball over here, short your pass, get there quicker, set your screen, get things under control. Don't go wild. Go wild on defense. Act right on offense.
The opening schedule was friendly. 2 home exhibition tests were followed by 5 straight home games in the regular season. Division III Augustana was the first to fall as Chris Albright, one of the 2 seniors on the team, led the Bears with 16 points. Next was Arkansas State, a neighboring rival that had reached the 3rd round of the NIT the previous spring, while winning a school record 23 games. The Indians featured a strong inside player in Fred Shepard and a tough point guard in Brian Reeves. Arkansas State led by 5 at the half, despite the return of the famous chicken to Hammond Student Center. And this new group of Bears faced an uphill struggle all night against a veteran opponent. But during the course of the evening, they found a leader in junior transfer point guard Jackie Crawford. With the game on the line, he was the go-to guy. Finally, in overtime, Crawford endeared himself to Bears fans by writing a memorable ending.
Arkansas State milks it back out anyway. Reeves now drives, shoots, misses. Rebound controlled by Clint Thomas with 14 seconds to play. Bears down 1. Look for the win. Not going to call timeout. Jackie Crawford drives, shoots, scores! Scores! Scores with 5 seconds. No timeout for Arkansas State from half-court Reeves. No! Bears win! Bears win! Unbelievable!
That put the capper on a 28-point night for Crawford as the Bears prevailed 70-69. Next came the Pizza Hut Classic, the 5th annual early season tournament at SMSU, and Morgan State's Bears were no match for the home variety on Friday night. Charlie's team rang up a season-high 97 points in routing the team from Baltimore 97-51. In the tournament finals, the Bears ran up against San Diego University out of the West Coast Conference. The Toreros numbered among their former coaches NBA executive Bernie Bickerstaff and Phil Wolpert of San Francisco fame, who coached the Bill Russell-led Dons to 2 NCAA championships. Hank Egan's squad provided a good test, too, coming from 14 down at the half to lose by just 70-63. Andre Rigsby, the only returning starter from the Bears NIT squad of 1991, tossed in 19 points to lead the way and was named tournament MVP. With a 4-0 record and an increasing amount of confidence, the Bears closed out their season-opening homestand by playing in-state rival UMKC. The Kangaroos had improved each year since their move to Division I, and the most improved Roo was sophomore forward Tony Dumas. Almost single-handedly, he kept his team in the game with a variety of shots en route to a 33-point night, the most by an SMS opponent in 2 years. But the Bears had the advantage inside. Junior transfer Tony Graves had 18 points and 12 rebounds, while senior Chris Albright scored 10 in the first half. But the season took a sobering turn just then when Albright broke his right foot. He would be lost for the year. The Phoenix Gorilla dropped in during the second half as the Bears pulled away to an eventual 77-64 victory. Freshman Clint Thomas filled in admirably for Albright. His putback capped a 14-5 Bears run early in the second half. Later, junior Lester Turner added to the lead. The Bears were 5-0, but heading to the Pacific Northwest minus one of their 2 seniors. There were many unique things about the 1991-92 basketball Bears, qualities that revealed themselves one by one as the season unfolded. One of the constants of Charlie Spoonhour's first 8 SMS teams was good man-to-man defense, and this squad eventually took that philosophy to a new level. But a major difference was the changing lineup. 9 different players got chances to start, and the most obvious difference was the presence of freshmen, 3 of whom would play key roles on the team. Beginning at Oregon State, the 5th winningest program in college basketball history, 32-4 on their home floor over the previous 3 seasons. Clint Thomas became the starting center this night, matched up against all Pac-10 Chad Scott, who was averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds. Thomas held him to 8 points. And Johnny Murdoch, a freshman from Wichita who'd become a starter in the 3rd game, came into his own in Corvallis, firing in 22 points. The Bears lost their first road test 72-63, but the team was continuing to take shape. After a week off for final exams, the team was 5-1, facing 2 games just before Christmas. But it would not be a merry holiday. After going 8-0 in conference home games the year before, the Bears lost to Illinois State 61-51, with only 3 players scoring more than 4 points. 2 nights later at Purdue, the offense was again stagnant in a 53-44 setback, the Bears' lowest point total in 4 years. On New Year's Eve, they faced a nationally televised home date while trying to end a 3-game losing streak. No SMS team had lost more than 3 in a row in 10 seasons. And this one wouldn't either. The Fordham Rams from New York City would be the December 31st home opponent. They were coming off a 25-win season and put up a struggle well into the second half. But Murdoch and Rigsby helped make it a festive night at Spoon's Temple of Doom with 18 points apiece. And the Bears won 61-48 to head into the new year on a high note. 4 days later in St. Louis, the Bears got a chance to preview the new site of their conference tournament, the Arena, site of 2 Final Fours and home of hockey's St. Louis Blues. And like the Blues' Brett Hull, the Bears were peppering the goals all afternoon. SMS had prospered in the Fordham game against the Rams' zone defense. And in the Gateway City, Rigsby and Murdoch bombed the Billikens. The open floor. And the Bears worked the motion offense. Rodney Perry on the point. Off to Rigsby. Open 18-footer. Swish. Murdoch. Crawford again. 24 to shoot. Back to Murdoch. Goes from 3. And he gets the roll. Dishes to Rodney Perry. He swings a pass now cross-court to Murdoch. Rigsby out of the left corner. Baseline jumper is good. And Andre Rigsby is unconscious. Rigsby had 15 points by halftime. Murdoch hit 3 3-pointers in the second half. The Bears led at one stage 24-4, but the young St. Louis team came back to make things interesting, getting as close as 5 points in the final minute before Murdoch's layup ahead of the buzzer made the final 66-59. It was the Bears' 5th straight win over the Bills and brought the season record to 7-3, heading back into conference play. After losses at Illinois State and Creighton, SMSU was in a very unfamiliar position in the conference standings. But the Bears' turnaround would begin at home against Northern Iowa. The teams had competed for 8 years as members of the Mid-Continent Conference, and now they were meeting for the first time in the Missouri Valley. The Panthers had enjoyed scant success in the Temple of Doom, where their overall record stood at 1-12. It was destined to get worse. The Bears jumped all over UNI, running out to a 15-point halftime lead on 65% shooting. SMS forced 18 Panther turnovers, while Crawford dealt out 7 assists, and Clint Thomas was an effective 5 of 6 from the floor, while playing his customary strong defense. The final score was 73-48, a blowout, a much-needed positive outcome, and the start of what would be a remarkable stretch run.
Tulsa has the lead, though, 33-27. Interception by Tim Axley. And here's Axley going all the way. And slams it, does Tim Axley.
At Tulsa 4 nights later, the Bears spotted their hosts a 10-0 lead and couldn't recover. They made quite a game of it behind the strong play of sophomore Tim Axley, a Tulsa native, but fell 1 point short. Then the Bears journeyed north, where the streak began at Drake, on the Bears' second and final visit to venerable Vets Auditorium, which would be replaced by a new building. Coach Spoonhour gave Ribble, a high school coach's son from Omaha, the first start of a 65-game SMS career. Reluctant to shoot in the past, Ribble was in there to shoot against the Bulldogs' zone defense. And did he shoot?
Ribble. How about that? Here's Ribble. And another one for Dale Ribble. Dale Ribble free again. My gosh, that kid is absolutely unconscious.
Ribble finished with 6 3-pointers in 7 attempts, just 1 short of the school's single-game record, and had a career-high 18 points. Redshirt sophomore Tom Shellemans had 5 points. The Bears couldn't handle Drake postman Kevin Sams, who had 16, but they won easily, 63-41, for their first conference road victory. 2 nights later, it was back to the Temple as the improving Bears faced the hottest team in the Valley. Dating back to the last half of the previous season, Indiana State was 13-3 in league play. They've been successful by combining a patterned passing offense with occasional 3-point outbursts. But this night would belong to the Bear bench, ever-changing in its makeup. Rodney Perry, a crowd favorite with his defensive quickness, scored 12 points and helped disrupt the Sycamores' patterns. Graves muscled in 10 points, and Johnny Murdoch fired home 14. A solid 65-57 decision continued the rise from the depths of the Valley. The Bears were now in the middle of the pack. As they say about baseball spring training, everyone's a pennant winner in March. Each fall, optimism abounds in the Ozarks as Bear season approaches. But the preseason anticipation was somewhat greater than in recent years because of the large cast of characters that Charlie would have at his disposal. Depth figured to be a strength, and as February approached, that depth, which was decisive against Indiana State, would continue to power the team.
Subs in, let's go. Get back in.
A 51-37 home court win over Bradley stretched the winning streak to 3, and SMS was beginning to make its move in the conference standings. The following Saturday, though, would define whether these late-blooming Bears were real contenders or just pretenders. Into the lair of unanimous league favorite and league-leading Southern Illinois. The Salukis were 14-3 and in a nasty mood after an upset loss at Northern Iowa earlier in the week. For a twist to the scenario, the game was at 11 in the morning for the conference TV game of the week. SIU featured a powerful front line of 6'8" Ashraf Amaya, the conference scoring and rebounding leader, 6'8" Marcus Timmons, and 7-footer Marcelo Da Silva. SMS started well, but the Salukis forged a 7-point lead in the first half. It was a physical war in the lanes, a trend seemingly favorable to the big, powerful Salukis. But Murdoch knocked down a bucket just before halftime to draw the Bears to within 2. And as fouls took their toll in the second half, there would be 54 fouls called in the game. The Bears' much greater depth proved decisive. The Bears had pulled the huge upset, 56-49, against an SIU team that was averaging 81 points per game. They found the right mix of substitution pattern, defense, and temperament. They were third in the nation in scoring defense, and they were within 2 games of first place in the Valley. A return home for Campbell Soup Night brought a perfunctory 55-40 win over Drake, the team against which the winning streak began. Sam's again was a one-man team for Coach Rudy Washington with 20 points, half Drake's total. Andre Rigsby, the team's lone remaining senior who'd been mired in a shooting slump, had a big second half, scoring 14 of his 16 points in the final 20 minutes. Jackie Crawford had carried the scoring load until then with 11 first-half points. The Bears were now 13-6 and set their sights on avenging their loss to Tulsa. SMS hadn't lost since that January night in Oklahoma, and the largest crowd of the season, standing room only, gathered at the Temple to see the rematch. It would prove entertaining from start to finish. While the winning streak had featured the Bears' nationally ranked defense, this game showed that the team could also succeed in an up-tempo game. Morse, the little Tulsa guard, was unstoppable in the first half with 16 points. But the Bears got to the free throw line often against Tubby Smith's aggressive club and made 36 of 42 for the game. SMS had a couple of 15-point leads in the second half, but Jamal West's work on the offensive boards drew the Hurricane to as close as 4 in the final minutes. The Bears hung on for a 78-74 win to run the streak to 6. February 13th, and the Bears returned to the scene of their first Missouri Valley Conference game from the previous season, Wichita, Kansas. Shocker coach Mike Cohen had already announced his resignation, and the home team was playing loose and large. With 6'8", 240-pound freshman center John Smith and muscular 6'6" forward Claudius Johnson dominating, the Shockers jumped out to a 28-16 lead. But the second half was all Bears. Abandoning their strategy of double-teaming the ball and playing straight up, SMS gave Wichita fewer opportunities, and Tony Graves came up big off the bench in matching the physical Shocker big men. Smith was held to 1 point in the second half, while Johnny Murdoch, making his return to his hometown, pumped home 16 points. The Bears made 20 of 21 free throws, continuing their torrid pace, and won easily 70-55. Then it was back home for brunch at Hammond's, another 11 a.m. start against Creighton. And despite the best efforts of Blue Jays senior guard DeJuan Cole, who scored 23 points, it was the Bears whose blood was pumping the fastest. Leaders by 16 at halftime, SMS cruised to a 72-56 win. Crawford leading the way with 17 points after having scored 18 at Wichita. Perry created his usual havoc and totaled 11 points. Road wins at Bradley and Northern Iowa kept SMSU in a 3-team race for the conference title. And the winning streak stood at 10 as the Bears returned home to play Wichita State. The Shockers were without John Smith, and SMS raced out to a 20-point halftime lead. 11 players got into the scoring as the Bears thrashed Wichita 72-53. When you're in championship contention, each season has a showdown game, and 1992 was no exception. League-leading Southern Illinois came to town on Leap Day, February 29th. And the largest Bears home crowd in 3 years packed the Temple, joining a national TV audience. The Bears threatened to blow out the Salukis, jumping on top 15-2 in the opening minutes. But SIU came back to within 6 late in the first half. And after a controversial timeout, with 3 seconds being put back on the clock, Southern's Chris Lowry hit a 3 at the buzzer to cut the Bears' lead to 29-26. The second half, predictably, was a war between these Missouri Valley heavyweights. The Bears were without Ribble, who'd been diagnosed with mononucleosis the day before. But the two SMS freshmen played decisive roles. Clint Thomas had 10 points and 13 rebounds, battling League Player of the Year Ashraf Amaya on at least even terms. And Johnny Murdoch, who would narrowly lose out in the Valley Freshman of the Year voting to SIU's Marcus Timmons, led all scorers with 20 points, while Timmons was held to 8. Before what some would call the loudest Hammonds crowd since the landmark NIT victory over Marquette in 1986, the Bears pulled into a first-place tie by beating the Salukis 66-58. 2 nights later, armed with a 12-game winning streak, their longest in 5 seasons, the Bears were in Terre Haute, Indiana for the last game of the regular schedule. For the second year in a row, they closed out at Indiana State, needing a win to share the Missouri Valley title. And for the second year in a row, they were denied, this time in incredible fashion, leading by 2 with seconds to play when the Sycamores' Greg Thomas cast in a desperation 30-foot shot with the clock running out, producing a 55-54 decision for the home team. Then it was on to St. Louis for Arch Madness, the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament at the Arena, site of 2 Final Fours. In the first round, the 3rd-seeded Bears faced a surprisingly tough test from 6th-seeded Creighton. With all-conference guard DeJuan Cole leading the way and 6'10 freshman center Mike Amos pumping in 16 points, the Blue Jays led by 1 at halftime and kept the lead well into the second half. But this was a night for Rodney Perry to shine. One of only 2 players on the squad that didn't start a game all year, Perry used his quickness to score a career-high 17 points. And Tony Graves muscled home 14 off the bench. Finally, Jackie Crawford, voted first-team All-Conference, took over down the stretch, directing the comeback and hitting 3 threes en route to a 23-point evening. SMS outscored Creighton 75-69 to reach the semifinals. The tournament saw its first upset on Sunday afternoon as Tulsa came from 17 down in the second half to shock Southern Illinois. But to reach the finals themselves, SMS would have to beat an Illinois State team to whom they'd lost twice in the midseason. The Bears led by 1 at the half, but were being hurt by Redbird's 6th man Mike Vandegaard and fell behind late in the game. Murdoch had taken an elbow to the head late in the first half and had 6 stitches only to return to action. Perry would again play a decisive role as he became the SMSU offense down the stretch. Still, the Bears trailed by 3 with half a minute to go and needed a miracle. Enter Andre Rigsby, the team's only senior.
Crawford brings it up the floor, drives the lane, kickoff, Rigsby, 3 out of the corner. Yes! Rigsby hits the 3, and we're tied with 30 seconds to go, and the Bears call timeout.
Still, Illinois State had the last shot, but Murdoch kept State's Richard Thomas from getting a good one, and the game went into overtime. Murdoch hit the first basket to give the Bears the lead, but Illinois State went in front again. Then it was Perry, first on an alley-oop for 2. Then, with the score again tied, driving the lane for 2 more. Finally, a game-ending defensive stand by a player who didn't score a point.
Wimhainer bobbles the ball, shovels it back, go to Thomas, 7 to shoot. Murdoch all over Thomas, 5 to shoot. Wimhainer in the lane, Vandegaard drives on Ashley, that's a charge! It's a charge! Ashley threw the charge with 9 seconds to go, and the Bears will have a 2-point lead and the ball.
It was the 3rd charging foul of the game Ashley had drawn, and the Bears were in the finals with a 61-58 overtime victory.
ESPN presents the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. And we welcome you to the St. Louis Arena, where tonight the battle for the Missouri Valley Conference Championship is on the line. 3 plays 5 for the right to be 1. It'll be Tulsa and Southwest Missouri State.
Championship night in St. Louis. And again, an ESPN audience looked on as SMSU and Tulsa would decide which team would represent the conference in the NCAA. The Bears played a near-flawless first half, with Rigsby picking up where he'd left off the night before. The senior hit his first 3 shots on his way to a career-high 20 points, and it was SMS by 7 at the half. But early in the second half, Tulsa went to its all-out press that had beaten SIU the day before, and the Bears had trouble. A 21-6 Hurricane run brought them from 9 points down to 6 points ahead with about 8 minutes to go. But this team that had known the cellar of the conference in the dark days of mid-January had come together in such a way that they refused to lose. Crawford and Murdoch and Graves and Rigsby would lead the scoring, while Lester Turner and Axley did the job defensively. Still, after a three-point play by Tulsa cut the Bears' lead to 1, and SMS lost the ball to the press, the Hurricanes shot for the game only to come up empty, and Axley came up with the rebound. Just as he had done in the clutch in Carbondale on February 1st, Axley hit 2 free throws to move the lead to 3. Tulsa had but one final chance.
Okay, Tulsa length of the floor to go. They have 3 seconds. Dawkins baseballs it into forecourt. It's caught by Collier. Here's his desperation 3. It's no good. Do you believe in March Madness? The Bears are back in the NCAA. The Bears go to 23-7, and they will play in the NCAA tournament for the 5th time in 6 years. Our final score, Southwest Missouri State 71, Tulsa 68. The Bears are champions of the Missouri Valley Conference postseason tournament.
Selection Sunday brought only anticipation, not the uncertainty of an undetermined fate. The only question was who, when, and where. And over 1,000 fans joined the Bears at Hammond Student Center for the nationally televised announcement that SMS would play Michigan State in Dayton, Ohio. It would be the team's 5th trip to the big show in a 6-year span, and pitted the Bears against a big, physical opponent from the Big Ten, one that owned wins over Indiana, Arkansas, and Michigan.
On behalf of the team, we would like to present you the game of the Missouri Valley Tournament Championship game. Thank you for being a great coach.
The Bears started slowly, falling behind 10-2 in the midday game at Dayton, but behind Crawford's leadership and with tremendous inside efforts by Thomas and Graves, SMS had caught the Spartans at 14 by midway through the half and led by 1 at intermission. Murdoch took Michigan State's top scorer, Sean Respert, completely out of the game, holding him to 3 points on 1-for-4 shooting. The Bears led through most of the second half, but never could get more than 3 points in front. Baskets were hard to come by for both teams. And in the end, Michigan State's board strength proved decisive, and the Spartans came away with a 61-54 victory, ending the Bears season at 23-8. Late October is to basketball fans what spring training is to baseball, the start of a long and winding road to March. For most, the forks along that trail lead to defeat, leaving the losers as mere bystanders when the nation is awash in March Madness. That appeared as late as mid-January to be the 1992 SMSU Bears' probable fate. But this team, though it consisted almost entirely of men unknown to each other just months before, had already come together on a personal level. And then things fell into place on the playing floor. And from a 1-4 start in conference play, they won 15 games while losing 2 the rest of the way, and reached the heights to which all aspire, but most fall short. There was great disappointment in the ending, yet great comfort in knowing the team returned virtually intact, and determination that 1993's road would wind even deeper into March.